So your major in grad student is your major?
My major?
Yeah, what's your
Media
major?
has its own major. So it's the Media Lab major. It's called MAS.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So the Media Lab is a major.
Yeah.
Oh.
Media Lab is only for graduates. It doesn't actually have undergraduate. Like undergraduates can work as research assistants, like I did with you, but it doesn't teach classes. It
Yeah.
teaches some classes, but no undergraduate classes. Yeah.
Okay.
What's your major in your undergrad?
Computer science.
Computers.
Yeah.
Most of the lab is computers.
Exactly. So a lot of computer science, a lot of electrical engineering. Nowadays, a lot of actually brain and cognitive science. There's a whole section we didn't get into, but we're getting into. There's a whole area of the lab getting into probes for recording neural activity. So some brain and cog side recently, brain scans and whatnot, and actually a lot of physicists. Physics major more than I thought. All mixed up people.
Yeah. But there's a whole side of the lab that's art and architecture too.
So less art nowadays. There used to be a lot more art, but a lot of design and architecture.
Designer of architecture?
Design and architecture.
Oh yeah.
So for example, like the mediated matter group that I showed you, the architecture group that's inspired by nature, that's their architecture group.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
their professor is an architecture major.
Yeah, so the funny thing is if you have a Media Lab degree, no one knows what you actually did.
That's why it depends
It's a
on which group you're
complete
in.
mystery, right? Because you can get a Media Lab degree and you might have done robotics, you might have done social media. Your whole thesis was Twitter, right? I mean, he studied Twitter for his PhD, right?
Wow.
You know Twitter.
Yeah.
So I mean, his whole thing was run by Twitter and sponsored by Twitter.
That's true. You got good money out of it.
Yeah, the group got lots of money from Twitter for it, you know. So, and then I mean, look at mechatronics, architecture, I mean, you have a Media Lab degree, no one has any idea what you worked on.
So it depends on your thesis. So there's so many different types of work here that when you have a Media Lab degree, it could mean anything.
So how do you develop a new project?
Oh, jeez.
I mean,
How do you choose your first project?
Well, the professors, you work with the professors.
Yeah, you start with
As you saw, each professor has a group, each group has a theme, right? Like Hiroshi's theme is the physical interfaces over the internet. You saw that, right? So that's his theme. So then if you're a student interested in his work, you join his group, you start working on his theme, right? So you're like, all right, I'm going to do, bathtubs that are interactive or something. We had that like 15 years ago, or something, right? I mean, you think of something interactive, or in our group, I mean, we started out in robots, so it's, robots and language, robots and, cognition, right? But then they went into social media. Right, so like the Smart Cities group, right? Are they still called Smart Cities? Yeah, the Smart Cities group, I mean, they say their theme is, let's build the city of the future, right? And that's when they start thinking about, well, what would have to be in the city of the future? And that's when they think of bicycle tires with batteries built in, and cars that can stack and self-drive. So the theme there is cities of the future, and then they think
brainstorming.
They brainstorm to think of how you would build that. Right?
Yeah.
It's like asking the painter, how do you carve your idea for painting?
Yeah,
It's
right.
hard to
The painter
explain.
just walks around and thinks of something, and then he goes and does it. Right?
Why do you want to choose Media Lab as your major?
I already chose my lab. I'm done. Oh yeah, that was a decision I made a long time ago.
Yeah, but the Media Lab, you come to the Media Lab because it's the most experimental, right? I mean, the Media Lab is where they do experiments in physics or computers or electronics before the physics department would want to, before the computer guys would want to, right? The robotics work they do here, the normal robotics departments don't want to do it, right? Because it's too experimental, it's too weird. So the stuff that the Media Lab does is always more experimental, more interesting, more provisional. No one really knows whether it'll work or not.
Oh yeah.
A lot of normal departments, you'll spend all 5 years trying to build a 10% improvement to something, or 20% improvement to something, right? The Media Lab tries to invent new fields, completely new fields, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you don't know what a Media Lab degree is actually about, because it just means you were trying to invent something.
Which also means there's a high chance of failure.
Which also
Yeah.